Hello everyone, this is Aaron from dotcolon. This is my first Ableton Live video tutorial, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a custom drum rack using nothing but operator synths. Okay, so let's just go ahead, set up a MIDI channel, drag in a drum rack, and then let's drag in our first operator. And let's rename this kick and concentrate on making a kick drum first. Okay, so double click the pad. If we play that, you can hear that it's a sine wave. So what we want to do to get it sounding like a kick is to drop the sustain, which gives us a plonk, and then drag the decay in to give us a nice hit sound. Sounds good, but it's too high in pitch. So what we want to do is come over to the transpose knob over here and drop it until we're happy. I think about 18, 19. It starts to lose its oomph at about 30. So I'm going to leave mine at about 18, minus 18. Okay, so that sounds all well and good. Bit boring. Let's just up the volume as well. Yeah, so it's okay, it's just a bit bland, so we're going to use this second oscillator here on the operator to affect the sound, or to thicken the sound up. So if we're to just bring the level of this up, you can hear the effect it's having on the first oscillator. It's not playing alongside it, it's actually modulating it. Okay, so if you click this sequence of colours here, this will bring up a number of options for how the separate oscillators are to be played in conjunction with each other. So this first one, oscillator A plays, which is then modulated by B, which is modulated by C, modulated by D. We don't want that for the purposes of this kick. What we want is oscillator A and B, to play simultaneously. So any of these where yellow and green are along the bottom together is good for us. So let's select that one and come back to this. So now you can hear that the sine wave is actually playing alongside it. We just want to drop the sustain and decay as before. Okay, but instead of using a pitch on this sine wave, what we want to use is a fixed frequency. A nice subby 40 Hz. I think the decay is a bit short there now. So you can hear the oomph it's adding to the original kick. So here it is without it, and here it is with it. So you can hear that sub-frequency presence. Okay, I'm not going to waste too much time on that, so we'll just leave that as is, and we'll make a start on the snare drum. So drag another operator in, and let's rename it snare. Cycle to oscillator A, and if you play it, it's a sine wave again, but we don't want that for a snare drum. So let's see what other waveforms we can use. We've got sine, saws, squares, triangles, but what we want for hi-hats and snares is looped noise. So there you can hear it. That's a noise signal. So in the same way we did for the kick, we want to drop the sustain and the decay, so we get a nice snappy hit sound. Snare, we want a bit of splash on it. Let's just increase the volume of this as well. Okay, so that's just off one oscillator. Let's use this second one to affect it. And let's drop the sustain and decay on that as well. And let's change that to white noise maybe. Let's keep it at sine. Okay, so you can see even just low down it is affecting the sound. Let's try modifying the sequence in which it plays again. Okay, So there's our snare really. Kick, snare, it's a bit loud. Drop it a bit. Kick and snare, so last of all we just want a hi-hat. So drag another operator in, rename it hi-hat, hat. Start life as a sine wave, which we don't want. Again, bring up the wave options and we want looped noise. Bring up the envelope and drop the sustain and decay. This time we want the decay to be a lot shorter than the snare. That sounds pretty good. Just up the volume again. And with oscillator B for the hi-hat, we're going to bring up the level. That sounds pretty authentic. And we'll just transpose it slightly as well. So there we have kick, snare and hi-hat. Basic, but they are all there. So let's go ahead and program a little beat. A little silly house beat. Okay. And let's go ahead and play that. Pretty simple. I'm just going to put a limiter on the master channel so it doesn't clip out. Okay, so I mean there we have it. When the sounds are together, you can hear that they work quite well together as a drum kit. Just a bit boring at the minute, so what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and use some of the audio effects available in Ableton to add some more character and some more texture and flavour to the sounds. Okay, so an effect I really like to use within Ableton Live is the saturator. So let's drag that into the kick and I'll show you what it can do. Okay, the saturator is basically used to add warmth, depth and more of a, like an analog feel to otherwise digital sounds. Let's just go ahead and start messing about. So you can hear, you know, affecting the drive, gives it a bit more power. I'm just going to keep that quite low at about 5. Okay. So using the saturator, you can get some pretty subtle effects, and you know, just to add a bit more flavour and texture to the sound, make it sound a bit less generic. Or some pretty harsh sounding, aggressive, really aggressive sounding effects also. But I don't want that for the purposes of this tutorial, so I'm not going to muck about too much, but you get the idea. The saturator is really useful for adding an analog texture and flavour to the sound. So useful for kick drums. I'm going to leave it like that for now and just move on to the snare. So for the snare, I'm going to add a ping pong delay. But the first thing I'm going to do is take it off sync, so it's not synced to the beat. I'm going to put that up very short and drop the dry and wet and the feedback right down. So we play that. You can see the effect the ping pong's having, but we want it really short. And it almost gives like an ADT effect, like an automatic double tracking thing. It just helps to bring this, lift the snare, give it a bit of extra rhythm as well with the slapback. I'm going to leave it on about 40. Let's affect the hat with a beat repeat. The beat repeat can be used to emulate fills that a drummer might perform. So I'm going to put that on the hat. We know that the hi-hat hits on every second, so let's just play the beat so we can hear how the beat repeat's affecting the sound. Okay, so you can hear it there. Let's just affect it. We don't want it to happen every time, so drop the chance. Let's also drop grades. Okay, and you can muck about with this for as long as you want. Let's just... Okay, so it's really useful for emulating those fills. Yeah, let's just turn the variation off. Okay, so there you have it really. Very basic drum kit. Created using operators and extremely minimal effects.